where it falls just there, like that. A bit more at the bottom so it doesn't come unfastened. A bit more at the top like that. And then we need to record where the top of the hole would be, like so. And then the bottom like that. Now the reason we're doing this is that when I'm thinking about yesterday when we put the other side on, remember we had to trim the panel just there and a little bit off the back. Remember now we've done this simply because it gives you a little bit of movement with the panel backward and forward so that you get the exhaust hole exactly in the middle where the exhaust comes out. So what will happen now is I'll remove the exhaust, leave the temporary hole just there, so that when we put the new panel on, the offside panel, we can line the panel up with that hole. So we know that when the exhaust comes through the side of the car, then it's coming through the hole as it is. We haven't got to trim the hole anymore. Right, we've now taken the exhaust off, and it's decided that on this foot panel, the fold that goes on the outside edge, instead of it pointing forward, we really should have pointed it backward. So we're going to take that panel off and we're going to put that fold in, reverse that fold so it goes backward.
Good.
Right, I'm just straightening out this edge now to rectify the mistake that we've made. The mistake that I've made and now we've got that going in the other direction. Right, we've now got the fold going backwards and we've got the panel screwed back in, and now we're going to repair this masking tape hole that we've had to rip apart to get to it. So we're repairing that back up again, like so, and then like that in the middle. Now, prior to offering the panel up, we're going to just tap, the floor is protruding a little bit there, we're going to tap that. The point from the change in direction to the back, we'll leave that sticking out, alright? Same as the other side, we put that up to there, hook it over the top, got that tight just there, and we can see that the other side does need the same amount, the inch taken off just there. We glance at the back and it's pretty much the same, it needs another 1.5 inches taken off at the back. So that is, that's good, both sides are the same. We look at the hole, and the hole, my camera person has just said that it's perfect, and it really is absolutely spot on. You can see that when the exhaust comes through there, it'll be totally central in the hole. Obviously, if we had got it so that it wasn't central, then we would take a little piece out of there instead of it just here. So that was the idea of leaving the panel slightly oversized so we could get that spot on. But we can see that with that, in this car at least, that butted up to there. The hole is totally in the centre, so we'll take a little bit out of there. Right, I'm putting the panel on now. My camera person here tells me that it looks as if it was fixed, that exhaust hole. can assure you, it was dead genuine, that's how it felt. So we've got that on there like that, that's good. And we're on the same process now, that's going to clear the back. We're on the same process of screwing it down, at least provisionally.
Okay.
Right, we've got the panel screwed in, putting in 4 screws and a couple underneath, up to the middle. And now again, we've got the process where we're going to bend it in very carefully like that, for it to change direction like that. And that's it hard up against that. So we're going to fasten the bottom in now, push it in and screw it up at the bottom like that. Right, we've now got the screws screwed underneath that. I'll just remind you that it means that the floor isn't level underneath. It does bend away with the sides being slightly lower than the actual floor itself because of the way we're bending the panel. Made a slight alteration to this side, whereas we've told you to drop directly down from that incision there and put your cut underneath it. We've moved it in this instance 1 inch further towards the front of the car. Makes a slight difference when you're forming this panel. So again now, we're at the stage now where we're going to grip the top of this with the grips, but we're going to have to handle this panel very carefully, very delicately, and we're going to form it in. So remember, very carefully, so as not to put any dings in the side. We're pressing this panel in like that. This panel is actually better than the one on the other side. That's formed it in like that, and then we're going to grip it with the grips at the top, like so. That's got the panel gripped at the top, and it's a real nice shape without any dings in the side. We're now going to drill that and screw it first and pot rivet it after. You've got to be careful because you can get some little dings in the side where you force the panel out. So you've really got to be very careful. If you do get any, you'll see little half moon shaped things, then press the panel out from behind, and then with a hammer, just gently on the apex of the ding, just tap it very, very gently, and it will come out. Eventually you may need to put some kind of former behind it to stiffen up the panel a bit, but that's got quite good shape to it. I'd like to see it just a little bit more formed out, but no, that's got quite acceptable shape. I still wasn't altogether happy with the shape of the side. I wanted more shape to the side, so I've taken the grips off again. I've drilled 1 hole in the centre of the tube, and I'm putting a self-tapping screw in that hole like that, nearly all the way in. And then what I'm going to do now, I'm going to just spring the panel out. So that it goes like that. And that does give me more shape, so I'm a little bit happier with that. More shape to the side. Remember, both sides have got to be the same. We're back to the vice grips again. We're gripping that up. That's given us more shape to the side, but looking at it, there's too much shape. So we're going to drill another hole just above it, 1/8 of an inch. Like so, and take that first screw out. and that's probably more acceptable. Put the grips on it now. And we'll continue to screw that all the way along. Ready? That is a nose cone infill panel, and that, as the name suggests, fits into the front of the panel just there. Goes around the rack, and there is provision to trim it slightly, so we'll just take a little bit off round this tube, just there. Just a small amount. Yeah, that fits better. Again, a little bit more, and then that mouse hole there will be directly in the middle of the rack. Okay, that's pretty good, that is. We'll go around the back now, round that way, and holding it in position like that, we'll scribe along the top like that. And we'll put a fold 90 degrees in the top of that. Now around this side. We're now going to drill it and put some screws in the top. I'll mark where they're going to go. A couple of screws in the top there, and we're also going to put some screws in the side. So as we're not drilling into a wobbly panel, we'll drill this panel before we fasten it up. Okay? And we can see we'll put one screw there and one just there. So we'll drill all those holes while it's flat on the deck. Right, with all the keyholes drilled first, we put the panel back on, like so, and then we fasten it onto the car. Right, we've now got that panel in position. You'll see we've got two screws at the top, a couple of screws around the bottom of the mouse hole, then a neat row of 5 screws that join the panel together. We haven't done anything at the front yet. We're leaving our options open at the front. We could form that round the corner, or depending on how the nose cone falls, we may leave it as it is, but we'll just see to that in a little while. We're going now to fit this panel on here, which is an infill panel. I forget what we've called it in your literature. That goes there and fills in that gap there. So it's the same kind of thing. Put it there in position so it's nice and equal between the holes, and then you can mark it from behind where you're going to fold it, like that. Fold it at 90 degrees, and then you can fasten it on with a couple of screws at the top and 2 more at the bottom. While we're in this position now, we're now going to, oh yes, what I was going to say, yeah, all these screws that we've got here, we've put self-tapping screws in. Now, you could leave them as self-tapping screws, or you could put pop rivets, but I would like to see that that panel is detachable in the future for various jobs you've got to do. Obviously, those of you who want to make a supersonic job, then you could put little 2BA chrome plated or stainless steel socket screws in, and make a feature of that panel at the front. But it will be painted all the same colour, and it will all blend in quite well, and you won't see the joins in all these panels once it's painted, particularly if you paint the screws and the pop rivets as well. End of that off there, so that it's not a sharp corner, and it just finishes it off neatly. There is a rail to go across the front of here yet for the bonnet to fasten onto, so remember that panel will have to come off again. Remember, don't weld it yet, or don't weld it at all. You recognise that that is the piece you've taken out of your floor for where the gearbox fitted. We're now going to fit that on top of the front section of the tunnel directly above the mechanical gearbox. So I've laid that on top like that, and I'm going to mark it now where we've got to fold it. So we can see that we're going to need a fold just there, 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 and that one is about 1 inch from the edge, just there. But I would say before we do that, we ought to have fitted that foot panel. So before you commit yourself to this top, make sure the other foot panel is fitted. But for this exercise, we'll fit this now. So we'll take it off, and then we've got a little bit of material here that we don't want at this end. We'll just snip that off, and then we'll save it because we need to fill in a few little bits here and there. So don't throw anything away. That's the operative word. Let's go and bend this now, and I'll be back in a second. With 2 returns on that, that's ready to go in now. So that just snaps on top, like so, and then you want some screws, self-tapping screws in the side like that. You will need to make another plate that boxes the end of that in just there, and a little bit at the front of this, at the back of this I should say, to fill in that space there, because there is a void there. Once you've got your tunnel top there, there's still 1 inch gap, so even that bit there would go in and fit in just there like that. Again, make this detachable so that you can easily whip your bonnet off, and then when you've got funny noises coming from your gearbox, you've lost some of the gears, take the top off, undo the 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, 10 bolts in the top, off with the top of the gearbox, and see all the bits and pieces and all the broken cogs and ball bearings all in there.
On then.
Whilst we've done work to the car in the last couple of days, we've noticed that the rear end of the car has been too low. Consequently, we need to adjust the spring seats. So at this stage now, we are about 4 inches into the tubes. Simply so that they're only in 1 inch. So we've tapped them out. And then we'll take the springs back in the holders, and then we carefully let the car back down again. Just watch your fingers if you're doing this. You could really do with 2 people doing it, so you don't get your fingers caught. Now, that does provisionally look better, and they've already pushed back in there, so we will need to go back to where we were, jack it back up, tap them back down to the hinge that we said, and then we'll need to just put the clamp on them to stop them moving. If it works, then we'll drill and bolt it. So with those spring seats repositioned again, we've now got from the weld mark on them at first and the strut to the bottom of the roll bar tube about 4 inches now, and you can see that gives us a higher amount of clearance at the back, but obviously once the car's complete, the front suspension on it will go down. So that's that. Okay. Now hang on, if you notice when the suspension was right down that part of the bodywork was catching on the tyre. So it looks like I'll be asking you to trim that that much away there, so in the event of the suspension bottoming, then it won't catch on the bodywork. But we'll see when we put the rear wing on how much we can afford to trim away there. But it looks like you want to bite out of there about 1.5 inches. Now, this bonnet operation goes through 2 or 3 different phases, and we do use different cars and different bonnets throughout it. We do use some footage from some old video, but we're starting off now with this bonnet, which is a relatively current bonnet. We've chosen to use a mild steel one because it does show up better on the video than the stainless one with all the reflections, and we've just coated this with red oxide on the inside so you can see it clear. So I'll just carry on with this now, and we're making a start with reforming this corner. You'll see that the corners of the bonnet has got a slight incision in it. We need to just nick that on the very edge on an 1/8 thin like that. Because now we need to reform that corner, and having nicked that a little bit like that, we do need to bend it out and straighten it out. So with some pliers or some vice grips, we're just going to bend that out like that. And then we need to tap it flat on a metal block. Well, I've conveniently got that metal block, a little bit of an anvil thing, so you need to find something similar. So with that like that, we get the hammer and we tap that flat. Now tap that flat, and we now need to put the strengthener into the corner. So in your kit you'll get this triangular piece of metal like that, and that goes into that corner like that. So we're going to trap that in, so we're going to put a little bit of sealer on it, some structural sealer. There's lots of these on the market now. There's one that's used extensively by DIYers, sold in Whips and Homebase and places like that, called Liquid Nails. That appears to be quite good. But this is a structural sealer, Sikaflex, and that now is going to be stuck on there like so. And then to hold it in place, we're going to put some masking tape. Now surprisingly, this masking tape is quite strong, and it will hold it in place while we do it. That's got that like that, and now what we really need to do is to flatten that corner over like that. We've got to be careful that we're not going to dent the bonnet. It's particularly important if you're building a stainless steel car, you don't dent it. Tapping that over. Like so. That's quite good. So that's the corner reinforced. I'm going to do the same to the other side. Holes along the inner edge of this bonnet, along the return lip, every 4 inches apart.
So,
I'm drilling an 1/8 pilot hole first, and I'm drilling exactly in the middle of the 3/4 inch return ledge. I'm also drilling with my brand new powered Devil drill, which I've just bought from B&Q for Sainsbury's Homebase for $7.99. Can you imagine an electric drill? It goes forward and backward, and it's got a hammer for $7.99. Bonnet together, so we can then put a 1/4 inch drill or a 6mm drill in the machine and drill through the one hole and project it to the other. It is really, really important that you ensure that the bonnet is level underneath and that you've got it level at the ends. So we'll start off from the front. So if there is any slight discrepancy in the length of the two bonnets, it's the front that's important. So we've got to make sure that they are level, and I can see that there isn't a problem. You can clamp that together with these vice grips, like so, and we'll do the back end. Making sure it's level. That's good. One set in the middle. And then, just for good measure, because we've got loads and loads of things in this bag, we'll put some more on. Like that. And like that. Then we'll turn the bonnet over just to double check to make sure that it is flush. And yes, it is flush along there. That's okay. So we put it back down. Then we whiz through these holes. But remember, as we're drilling as always we're drilling holes like this, you only drill one hole and then you put a nut and bolt in. So we're going to put the nut and bolt in now. So this is a Phillips set screw here. You notice that we've got my brand new spanner, nil. My brand new spanner, ratchet spanner. So we'll put one in the other end now. Just watch that when you're drilling this, if you've got a bigger drill, the chuck doesn't crash in and damage the bonnet. I'm using 6mm nuts and bolts here. Remember, it may have been a good idea, in the case of a mild steel bonnet, to have primed this edge before you started, because it's in cavities like this that rust could start. So we are going to fill it eventually with a mastic sealer, but a coat of primer in there would have been a good idea. Just run a sharp edge along the corner and take the strip of plastic off before you bolt it together. It's always a job to get it off afterwards. Once it's trapped in there, you finished up with a ragged edge. Indentation in there when you tighten it up. Kits, do you want to do this? I'm just going to tighten all these screws up, and then the bonnet will be together. that's the bonnet bolted together. Take the clamps off and we'll look at it from underneath just to make sure that we have got it level. So what happens now, we'll look at it from underneath, we've just got to make sure that it is level across there. And I can see that because of a slight difference in the folds that it's not quite level. So all we're going to do is to get the bonnet like this and to give it a big hug together like that. And now it's level like that. You see across the top that it's level. If it was bowing the other way, if it was convex, then we would just squeeze it the other way. So we've got the bonnet together like that. Just one final thing to do to the bonnet, and that's to fit a strip on the back. Now, we're due to put the price of kits up at any minute. And when we do put the price of kits up, then you'll get this strip in the kit. But it's little things like this that I'm afraid that mean we've got to put the price up. We can't hold it very much longer. So the people that bought the kits at the new price, they will get this strip. If you don't get it in your kit, then you'll have to make one yourself. So that snaps on the back. You see it's just a piece of metal that's folded in half, around about 32 inches long. And that's, we ought to really first of all measure it to get it in the middle. Because often these things, that once you've got them on, you can't get them off again. So that's 32 and a half, so we'll mark it at 16 and a quarter. So that goes 16 and a quarter just there. And it snaps on the back edge, and it does stiffen the bonnet up. So we just tap it on gently. If we're certain this is staying on for keeps, then we would have squirted some of the structural sealer in. So that goes in there, comes up to the demister vents like that, and it stiffens up the back of the bonnet. And it doesn't need a lot more than that than some structural sealer. When you put your demisting vents on, the demisting vents go over the top and the common screws will hold it all together. So that then is the bonnet complete, and it's now ready to go onto the car. This is this bonnet complete. We're now going to fit a bonnet onto a car. Now, we have used some old footage here from an older video, and you will see that the bonnet is clearly different. In addition to that, it is different because it's longer, it has a shorter nose cone. In addition to that, we've also using a stainless steel bonnet, which has got the white plastic covering on. So that may confuse you a little bit, but the footage is quite good. I've looked at it already, and it is worth using. We're now going to offer up the bonnet, see what it's like. Just so we get the bonnet height right, we're going to put a little piece of wood on top of the engine like that, so that the bonnet doesn't sit too low. Right. Look at me now. So we've got the bonnet we're going to try on. Now remember, if this bonnet's not quite the right shape, if it's dipping in the middle where the seam is, or it's standing too high where the seam is, you can gently just shape it like that by just bending it like that, and you'll get some shape into it. Like so. We come to offer it up now, and we plonk it onto the back rail gently, like so, and onto the body sides, and we're looking for it to overhang at the back around about an inch. So we're squaring it up like that. It's sitting on top of that with a piece of wood on top of the engine. And that's looking pretty good there at the front, and at the back we've got, about an inch. So as we press it down to the side, that's bringing it down nicely onto the side of the body. So the next thing we've got to do is to fix this in position pretty definite where it's going to go, and put the hinge bolts in. So now I'm going to jiggle this around to make sure we've got the correct amount sticking out the back for the overlap. We need a bit of an overhang on it to put the snap-on finisher on, and for it to hood the dashboard. and it's got the same both sides. So I'm going to get some clamps and clamp it down at the side and get ready to drill it.
Okay.
So you can see the block of wood that's supporting, or temporarily supporting, the centre of the bonnet of the oil filler hole. You can see the clamps that we've got holding the bonnet in position at the front. As we come round the back, we'll see some more of these clamps.
Okay.
So to hold the back of the bonnet down. You can see that we've got the bonnet sticking out right about an inch from the tube there. That's so the dashboard will fit in, and we can snap on the edge finisher, which comes from the door aperture of your Ford Sierra. We'll look at the bonnet square on from the side.
Okay.
You can see we've got a nice gap all the way along, with the exception at the front, and it looks like we're going to have to take off that nose cone infill panel and tip it down at the front. You can see we've got too big a gap there, it's tight there, so that'll have to be rotated clockwise slightly. And also we think it was a little bit of a mistake to take that bite out of there. We shouldn't have taken that out, so that will also bring that panel further forward. As you know, the bonnet is hinged at this back pointed corner with one long 10mm bolt. We're now going to drill a hole for that bolt, but we're going to use only an 1/8 pilot hole to start with, simply because we'll put a small self-tapping screw in to see if it works before we commit ourselves to a 10mm hole. So I'm going to drill from behind because that is the perfect position for this bolt, and we won't be able to accurately do that from the face side. So we know we need to be a spy down about an inch from the bottom of the bonnet, which would mean that the drill would be there, and it would need to come right through the centre of the tube. So we'll drill from this side. So we'll start off just there, straight through with an 1/8 drill. I've got the hole drilled through 2 sides of the tube, and I'm coming to the bonnet now. So I'm going to put a block of wood there to support the bonnet. Don't put your knee there because you could drill into your knee. So I'm drilling through. That's right, so see I'm drilling through there. Right, I'm right the way through the lot now, and now I'm going to put in temporarily a self-tapping screw to hold it in position while I go round the other side and carry out the identical exercise to the other side, but obviously this time I'm going to drill through the tube, through both sides of the tube, one side, hold the wood block there, right the way through, and I'm going to put a self-tapping screw in, take all the clamps off, and hopefully that will be the bonnet hinging. If it hinges okay, then we can go on and substitute these self-tapping screws for proper thick 10mm bolts. We now have the acid test. We've got the 2 screws in, and we're going to gently lift the bonnet up like that, and yes, it looks like it's going to work. You've just got to watch that these corners just here don't dig into the side or damage them or curl under. So I'll just leave it for the photographer, the video person, just to shout out if they do start doing anything strange. I'll watch the other side. So we're lifting it up. And what's happening? Are they splaying out or? Yeah, that's it. So it's only gone up so far. It could do with lifting a little bit higher. We'll look to see why it's only lifting so far. But yes, that's pretty good, that is. So we'll pop it back down again now. We'll take one screw out, then the other screw, and we'll put large nuts and bolts through. The technical camera operator's telling me that it was just catching on that little bit there. So what we'll do, once we put the nut and bolt in, we'll just planish that back a little bit and see if we can solve that problem. I'm now going to take that screw out, drill a hole right the way through, an 8mm hole, put a roofing bolt through the hole. I'm going to put a couple of washers to space it off to try to get over that problem we've got where it's catching. And I'm also just going to tap that very gently. I'm pretty certain that could just do the trick. So we'll whiz that out, like so. And we drill through with the 8mm drill through that lot. Remember there's 4 thickness in the metal there now.
Well.
Okay, we get the roofing bolt now, which I've got in my pocket, conveniently. Roofing bolt, 2 washers, through there like that, 2 washers in between the spacers, through the hole. Pretty good. Remember, if nobody else says something's good, then you can say yourself. Go around to the other side, do the same thing to the other side. So we've got the bolts in, we've got the nuts on, 2 washers in between there, we've tapped that down, and we'll just try the bonnet now. Yeah, that's perfect this time. It opens right up. That's about the maximum you can go with it, but that's plenty room in here to do all the work and everything like that. Down it goes. So yeah, we're getting somewhere with this bonnet. Possibly we could take just one of those washers out there so there's just one, or you might get them both out. That's just sound a little bit proud, but it will go in a little bit if necessary. So that's the bonnet, the first stage of the bonnet complete. And the bonnet, initially with the nose cone. Now, although this operation we're using a full nose cone for the stainless steel cars, and it will be a stainless steel bonnet we'll use, the procedure is just the same. We're going to start by taking out the centre of the nose cone. You need really to offer up your radiator grille that has bent tags on it to work out exactly how much material you need to leave on that inner lip. On these full nose cones there's a recess already in it, so it makes it a little bit easier because you're cutting just inside the recess. So you'll see the recess all the way around there like that, so it is that you need to cut out. But before you start, if you get your grill, pop your grill in, make sure that the 4 legs have got material to go into. So with the with knowing how much you're going to cut out of the nose cone, you're going to then make a start, drill some holes, and then cut it out with an ordinary hacksaw blade. Before I do that, I'll just move on to one other area on the nose cone. If we look carefully, regardless of where the nose cone finishes down there, you'll see there is a ridge, quite a definite ridge. We need to mark exactly where that ridge comes to the end of there, like that. And that is the point that we're interested in, just there. The same on this side. We're looking along there. That is the key point, just there. We need to measure exactly from one side to the other. And whatever the measurement is, or wherever you decide that point is, obviously it's equal on both sides. I make it 32.5. So what I'm interested in is a mark which is 16.25. Now this is really important that you find the centre of this. So we're trying to find the centre of those two white marks, and that's it at 16.25, just there like that. So that's quite important. You've got that mark, because that mark just there is what we're going to eventually line up with the centre of your bonnet. That seam in the middle of your bonnet, you're lining it up with that. So we're moving now again back to the nose cone like that, and we're going to start off by just drilling a couple of holes, or a row of holes, just slightly above the line like that. 3 holes like that. Put your drill in and lock on the drill so that it gives you a slot like that. And then with an ordinary hacksaw blade, something like a 24 or 32 hacksaw blade, you're going to pop that in the hole, and you're going to start to cut out this centre out of the nose cone. Now what will happen is that you'll carry on like that, cutting straight forward, until you start to come to the corner. And when you come to the corner, as I'm doing now, then you'll twist the blade. If you can see that I'm twisting the blade, you'll put a twist on the blade like that. And you'll still keep on cutting like that, but with a twist. And you'll find that that will naturally go round the corner like that. So it'll take you 5 or 10 minutes to do it. Obviously, if you find you've got a problem and you can't quite master this twisting in the corner, then if you just get your drill and just on the corners you can chain drill the holes like that, then a little bit of sandpaper and sand it out. This is the nose cone with the centre cut out. My technical friend here has just pointed out that it may be better if they did it with a jigsaw. Don't do it with a jigsaw, because the jigsaw won't sit flat on that face. Do it the way I've showed you. Come to drill the bonnet, and we've put a strip of masking tape all the way around the front edge of the bonnet, which is 18mm from the edge of the bonnet. Exactly 18mm all the way around. And then starting from the centre, we've marked it at exactly 1 inch intervals. So that's half an inch first, and then 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, and then from the centre again, half an inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, all the way around. So we've marked that at 1 inch. And what we're going to do now is very, very carefully, with a brand new 8th drill, go round and drill all those holes very, very carefully. You may need someone to hold a block of wood underneath it while you do it, just to give you a little bit of support. So a block of wood under the bonnet, and then carefully drill the hole like that, and all the way around, so that all the way around, so you've drilled all the holes exactly 1 inch. Stop. That's it. Good job this time. None of the holes have wandered. They're all straightforward like that. Now, the next thing to do is to offer up the nose cone. the nose cone and we'll put it into the bonnet aperture cut. In your kit you receive some plastic finisher that snaps on the edge of the bonnet. So you now need to snap this finisher onto the edge of the bonnet like so and push it well on. Sometimes use a little bit of coaxing to get it on. That's pushed all the way along there like that. I've had this on once, so it's gone on relatively easily. So that is pushed on like so, and once it's on, make sure it's level with the sides like that. Trim it off so it is level, and you'll see that that then gives you around about 1/4 inch before the holes, so that it doesn't slip off during the next operation. It's a good idea to get masking tape and to tape it on. So you can put the masking tape right up to the start of the holes, keeping the chrome plastic strip pushed well on like that. So you're pushing that well on, and that's going to stay on nearly all the time until you've finished this operation, like so. See now that I've offered this nose cone up into the bonnet, and the key thing is that we've lined up those 2 centre marks. Now, to be honest, you won't get the nose cone and the bonnet to fit snug together. It just doesn't happen. We have to screw it up to pull it together so that it does fit well, and it will fit well, even though we've got these relatively big gaps in these corners. So I'm going to start off by putting at least 1 screw in the centre to secure it, and then we'll work way along.
Come on.
See that we're aiming to get the strip, the edge of the strip. I'll just pull it up a little bit just so you can see it, just so you can see what we're talking about. You're looking to get the edge of the strip, the shiny part of the strip, nicely into the corner of that recess on the nose cone. So you can see it just there. We're looking to get that nicely into the corner. And before you put any more screws in at all, you've really got to check that on both sides we've got the edge of that chrome strip up into the corner, because if you start from the middle and work your way out as you go along, then a 64th of an inch there will give you a 1/4 inch wrong at the other side. So you can see that we've got that first screw, and what I'm going to do now is carry on drilling into the fiberglass with an 1/8 drill and put these self-tapping screws in. And I'm going to go all the way along. I'm going to do one side, then the other side, then swap and go from side to side all the way along there. Nicely pulling the fiberglass and the stainless steel together. Now, the slight problem is that we cannot over-tighten these screws because they won't bite very well into the fiberglass. So if you keep just twisting, you'll just strip them. So we're only doing it gently. When we get to the corners, when we're looking to pull up more material, then we'll be putting something behind that to give a little bit more strength. In your kit you'll find various small pieces of offcuts and scrap, particularly in the centre of the seat back panel. You need to cut 2 small strips, something like this, that you'll be able to now put behind the nose cone to give it more support where you're trying to pull up this difficult corner. So you need to form this, so just bend it so that it's the shape of the bonnet like that, and then you'll need someone to hold it for you underneath the fiberglass. So when you drill through, you're drilling through the metal as well, and then your screws, instead of pulling up into the fiberglass, you won't really pull up, they're now pulling up into the metal, and it's giving it the maximum support. So you need someone to hold that underneath. Make sure they hold it with a block of wood. You don't want them to drill into the finger. So that goes underneath now. We're continuing all the way around to pull that up together. We've now got the plate in and we've started the first screw off, but in order to make it easier we're using longer self-tapping screws now to pull up the material because we won't reach with the shorter ones. You've still got to be a little bit careful that when you're screwing this in, that the nose cone is actually being pulled towards the stainless bonnet and not the other way around, that you're deforming the bonnet down to the nose cone. So you can see that we've reached that now, we've got a longer screw, and that is now pulling it up nicely like that. That's great. You can see, so we can see it's just coming down, super, and we're going to move to the other side, so we're doing both things equal, and we're still looking to make sure that it's fitted into that corner of the nose cone.